Oh, yeah. Mm, delicious cup of coffee. Brewed by yours truly, the man, the legend, Ryan Beset, the host of Saying Stuff in the Morning, the podcast that you are listening to right now in the comfort of your own home. So grab a bowl of popping corn, pour yourself a nice glass of fizz, and buckle in because you're in for quite a treat. Yes? Yeah. Yeah, shit, here we are. Um, don't know what to tell you except a whole lot of cool shit. Um, what have I been up to? Oh, you know, not a whole lot, just working. Shit. Trying to prove my worth, or at least, some level of that, I guess. It's interesting. I don't know where it comes. I don't know. No. Can't talk today. Shit, because I'm just so fucking dope. I don't know. No, I don't know what it is about work and me being like. I can't even really put it into words. Um, just wanting to do a good job and not. I think you know what? If I were to think about it, something about being the guy at the job and being the dummy. I don't like that. I don't like the thought of that. And what I mean by that is, I don't know, like having a lack of hustle and drive and passion when it comes to doing what you're doing. I think those are all key because you're bound to find success with that sort of mindset rather than going into a job because it's just a job and just doing it, and then you're like, okay, and then you go home and maybe you have a few brewskis or smoke a few doobies or fucking pig out on some candy, but it's like a loop that I become more and more afraid of just because there's got to be more to life than just that, right? I can't remember if I've said this before. I feel like I mentioned it before on the podcast, but I'll say it again. I had a science teacher, and he told the class, this is a very long short of it, he had told us all that we would end up being worker bees. And, of course, like, my younger self was like, fuck you. But now that I'm older, I'm like, well, shit. It's not really wrong. But with that being said, I don't think that's something that should crush ambition or dreams, having something that you really want to do, I feel like that's key. Or maybe just, your career is what you really want to do, right? But for me, yeah, I don't know. It's just, I'm there, and I could either go into it and just be like, yeah, okay, do the job and get the fuck out. But just taking that little extra step to be like, okay, well, how much heart am I putting into this? Again, doing what I do, cooking. It's funny. I keep knocking my fucking pop filter. So if you hear a random noise, that's that. But when I worked at BK, at one point, it was my first introduction to presentation of food. And it was something as simple as how we were fuck me, I can't talk. How we were plating and presenting the burgers. Maybe not plating, because it was like wrapped in a fucking thing. Put in a bag, so there's not much plating to that, especially not the plastic tray. Fuck. And a paper cup. The plating looks amazing. Look at that presentation. But the burger there was actually key presentation we had to follow. And what it was kind of placing and angling the ingredients in such a way where the burger sort of has like an opening to it, and it's got like all the ingredients sort of set up towards that one opening, so it looks like you're getting like a mound of food. Which, I mean, it did look really good, but it was funny too because it got to a point where when I was making burgers, I would try to make them look like just really fucking nice. Like really, think about where the onions are being placed, where the tomatoes sitting, how's the lettuce looking, how much sauce, all that shit, right? And then to top it all off, do that really fast. Well, you're bound to get good at it, right? So, but I always remember, like making something and making it look really nice and putting that little extra touch of detail on it and being like, okay, yeah, that's nice. I'm proud of that. And I feel like that can make your job just that much better, right? Makes you want to come back and like try to hit that mark again. And that's such a key thing with cooking. You go through like a dinner rush or something, and it's that feeling of slaying it when you've got bills just flying in and you're just able to keep up, and just the rhythm and everything's smooth and working well, and everybody's working together and nothing's slipping up. That's like one of the best feelings of working in a kitchen. And that same rhythm and flow can be found in any other job, right? Where things are just going really well. Things are running smooth. Doesn't happen all the time. And if it did, I think things would get kind of boring. That's why you have good days and bad days, right? Hey, that's life. How fucking profound. Since we were talking about profound statements and such, you want to know something that was profound? Ocarina of Time. Yep, this is where we're taking it today. I told y'all we'd be talking about fucking video games. Not literally, like, trying to have sexual intercourse with a video game per se, but, like some fucking video games, man. Yeah, that's what we're about to talk about. And today's game is Ocarina of Time for the N64. I remember, like, it was... I don't remember it like it was yesterday. I remember it like it was a few months ago. I remember getting my N64. I remember getting a copy of Ocarina of Time. I was at my grandparents' house. I can't remember if I got the Ocarina of Time for the N64 for my birthday or Christmas, but I know eventually I got it. And Ocarina of Time, funny enough, I think was my first Zelda game. I don't know what it is today. My fucking words are just not coming across properly. Not Zelda. Zelda is not a thing, but Zelda certainly is. Yes, The Legend of Zelda. It was my first Zelda game, and it blew my fucking mind. Also, too, just the graphics for that time were just like, holy shit. What is this? Mind you, I did have a Sega Genesis before an N64, so I was playing Sonic the Hedgehog 2, 1, 2, and 3, and I remember renting Sonic 3 and Knuckles from Blockbuster, Rogers Video, whatever it was most likely Blockbuster, and you actually got 2 cartridges, so you had to put... I believe it was Sonic 3 and Knuckles on top of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 inside of your Sega Genesis. So it was like this towering game cartridge. But yeah, so I was familiar with 2D side scrollers, but the N64. Oh boy. Holy fuck, was that ever a time for Nintendo. N64, Game Boy Color. Shit was wild. It was like Nintendo knew what the fuck they were doing, and they did it with a smile on their face. Shit. Popping in Ocarina of Time into my N64 and looking at the intro cutscenes, seeing Navi fly through, that cutscene where she's flying through the the Kokiri village, Kokiri. And then arriving to Link's house, waking him up, and then boom, there you go. And then like leaving your house, and you got to find the sword and the shield and the music. Oh, that there. Dude, like, come on, man. That's like so ingrained into my fucking mind. Every single bit of music inside of Ocarina of Time is just stuck in my brain, and it just triggers a whole fucking, I don't know, monsoon of holy shit. I was a kid once, and yeah, so like I remember going through that whole intro part, and you get the sword and the shield, and then you got to go into the Great Deku Tree, and you got to figure out what's going on in there. And then you find a fucking slingshot, so then you can shoot projectiles and shit. And like the puzzles are like, here's an introduction puzzle to how to puzzle inside of Legend of Zelda puzzle game, because the game is puzzles, right? Let's be reals here. It's a puzzle game, so it's gonna like try to make you think a little bit about the pieces that you have, and you fit them together, and that creates a thing, right? And Deku Tree was a great example of that, because it was just start out with like simple shit, like hop the platforms, push this block over here onto this switch, so the switch stays down. Because if you stood on it, if you saw a switch and you stood on it, you'd be like, okay, cool, it activated a thing, and you walk off, and you'd be like, nope, I need to stay down. So shit like that. And then so you go through that, you fight your first boss, Goma, which as a kid is tricky, especially with the controls of an N64, like it's great, but it's not so great, because after, obviously with the shit we have now and the joysticks we be playing with, like that's, yeah, it's definitely dated, that's for sure. But it still feels right, it still feels like, I can still like use this controller. Yeah, so going through that battle, getting your first stone, and then you're leaving the forest. You have a moment with Saria, and she doesn't, she's like, oh, my friend's leaving, and then you get the fairy ocarina, and then you go into Hyrule Field, and it's just like, okay, that's when you think you're getting into the fucking meat and potatoes of the game, but you're not yet. And then you gotta go through the field, and then but you know what I mean? Like, you gotta go through all those things, going to different towns, and you didn't know what the fuck you were really supposed to do. So you'd like talk to everyone and go into every house, which like just furthered, the length of the game. And then you finally come across someone who's like, oh, well, if you do this, I'll give you a thing. And then you get like a fucking bottle for finding a bunch of chickens, or, finding the Sun Song in Kakariko Village, and going up Death Mountain, going through the Dodongo's Cavern. One of my most, my favorite parts of that level is getting the bombs, finally getting the bomb bag, which was fucking sweet. And then if you went to the Bomb Chew Alley, you could get the bigger bomb bag. Then you had like, 30 or 40 bombs? I don't remember. But yeah, and then and just getting the upgrades too, like that was fucking sweet. Getting the bullet bag for the slingshot and shit. Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed like every time you could get your hands on something dope, you like would go around the world. You wouldn't even go through the main story. You'd like go and see, okay, well, how can I use this new item, right? Like when you finally get to Jabu Jabu and figuring out how to get into that level. And then getting the boomerang, and then you can you can throw the boomerang and get items and things that you weren't able to reach or weren't able to get to, which then gave you another reason to like check everything out again and find what you could find. Heart pieces and those skulltulas and shit. So I don't know, it was fucking dope. And then so after you get all 3 stones, and depending on what you've done in the game, you're like, okay, I have to go to the Temple of Time, and nowadays, now that I'm older, I always save the Temple of Time till after I've gotten all 3 stones. Just because it gives you that cool cinematic, and I just kind of feels it makes it a little more epic rather than visiting the Temple of Time beforehand. Yeah, and then and then getting the Master Sword for the first time, right? How fucking epic was that? How epic was it before even the Temple of Time? You're approaching the Hyrule Castle thinking like, oh my god, okay, this is what I've been working towards. Shit's gonna be dope. And then Ganon is chasing Impa and Zelda, and Zelda throws the Ocarina of Time, and it lands in that little moat, and then you gotta jump in and get it, and then you learn the Song of Time, and like getting that Ocarina was like, oh, fucking cool, awesome. And then you get to the Temple of Time, you do the thing, and then you get the Master Sword. You get the Master Sword, right? Oh, fucking A. That was oh my god, you just felt it, the game gave you a sense of like you felt more like you felt stronger. You felt like you, after all the things that you had to go through as a kid in that game, and the whole intro to like what you're gonna have to face was just so smooth, and it totally just made you feel like, yeah, okay, some growth occurred. And then after you get through some more cutscenes and you get out, into the game, that's when you're in the meat and potato of it. And I don't even think that really sinks in until you get to the Forest Temple, because that's when you're like, okay, this temple, it was a skill check, right? It was a little more challenging. There was concepts that as a kid I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do. Getting turned around, and all of the adult temples, I always found myself getting turned around, and also because I obviously wasn't that smart. Probably could have used the map and the compass a little bit more to figure out if I had chests I had to open to find keys, which was definitely important. But then finally finding like the bow and arrow, that was such a fucking sweet moment. Just so cool. Being able to fire a bow and arrow, and just that item in itself, as a kid, you're like, a bow and fucking arrow, yep. Like slingshots are cool, but bow and arrow, damn son. And yeah, just traveling through that temple and fighting all the ghosts and trying not to get lost in the meantime, or accidentally falling off a platform which will take you back to the beginning, or getting one of those hands that come down from the ceiling and take you to the beginning of the level, and you're like, fuck, and then when you finally fight through the Forest Temple and you have to fight Phantom Ganon, and yeah, you have to shoot the paintings with the bow, but then you have to figure out that you have to hit those energy balls at him back with your sword, and that's like a whole other fucking like battle in itself. And then finally fighting him, and getting your first medallion, the sages, all of it, man. It's just so awesome. It's just so, there's a sense of gratification that came with that, and then having to fight through every fucking temple. And like, let me tell you now that I'm older and I've played the game way more than I can even comprehend, I've beaten that game so many fucking times, and it still doesn't really get that old. But I don't find that I get as much enjoyment doing like the Forest Temple, the Water Temple, and I used to really like the Fire Temple as a kid, because you would fight a dragon at the end, which who doesn't want to fucking do that? But even I find like the Fire Temple, like, I don't know, those first three temples, I'm like, I mean, they're okay, they're cool. I think the whole having to get through all those three temples, finally beating that's when I feel like, okay, like I've accomplished something pretty good in this game, because then all you have is the Spirit Temple and the Shadow Temple, and those are like my favorite temples. And I usually save the Spirit Temple for last. I don't actually know what the order is, aside from in the menu you'll have like where you've collected your medals. Sorry, yawning, terrible. And it'll show like what medals you have, and there's a certain order to that. I think the Spirit Temple is the last one to collect in that. But you can do either or first. So I usually tried to keep the Spirit Temple for last. The Shadow Temple, it's super creepy, very unique, like very dark, disturbing. The bottom of the well too, that's another freaky ass fucking level. Like those weird creatures that came out of the ground and their hands everywhere. Fuck all of the scary ass shit that went on in Ocarina of Time. That shit was fucking terrifying. As a kid, you're just like, what the fuck am I actually looking at? When you're a kid in the game Ocarina of Time, and you're just a kid, and you got those fucking re-deads jumping on you and like what looks like they're humping you. That's fucking scary. Those things that like the hands out of the ground that grab you, even the hands that come from the ceiling, those are fucking scary. Like all that shit. And then that's just Ocarina of Time. Don't get me started on Majora's Mask. We'll do that for another episode, because that game's even more scary. Yeah, so the Shadow Temple, though, like, that is a very, like, okay, that's a hardcore temple. Oh, fuck me. The last two temples are probably the most challenging out of all of them, because then, like, the Shadow Temple's tricky, and it, like, literally, like, because if you have the Lens of Truth, like, there's things that are invisible, and the puzzles aren't really so obvious, and even the final boss fight is hard. I mean, I didn't learn this till not too long ago, but if you have the ice arrow from the Gerudo Fortress, the training grounds, then you can freeze his hand, Bongo Bongo. So I was like, oh shit! So I'm gonna have to try that on this playthrough, because I'm playing it right now, and I've just cleared the Water Temple. I'm getting my way to the Shadow Temple next. But yeah, just having to get through that whole shit, and just, yeah, that's a very easy level to get turned around in, and also just intimidating. And then you clear that, and you get the hover boots in there, like, that's fucking dope. And might I also add the excitement and the struggle of trying to get the big Goron sword. Like, the giant's knife, you could buy that and it's like broke. But the big Goron sword, oh boy, that sword will help you out in the Water Temple, because fighting Dark Link, if you have that sword, makes it easier, right? It just does. I've seen it. Plus, you do more damage, so of course. But yeah, getting the big Goron sword was one of my favorite parts too. And then finally getting to the Spirit Temple, and that's a temple where you got to do it half as a kid and then half as an adult. And that temple's fucking puzzles are just fucking wild. Getting the gauntlets, getting the fucking mirror shield. The mirror shield looked so cool, and you could actually reflect light with that. And then having to like hit the suns and like, but that whole temple, the puzzles were just insane. Like, I would say probably the most difficult, next to like Ganondorf's castle, right? And the boss fight in the Spirit Temple is just so fucking dope, because you gotta shoot fire and ice at Twin Rova, and that was the boss fight name, right? I'm not getting that mixed up. I hope not. Otherwise, I'm gonna look very uneducated in Zelda and what I'm talking about. But that whole boss fight, beating that, and depending on what kind of player you are, if you've decided to get all the gold Skulltulas or all the heart pieces, I don't think I've ever done either of those in Ocarina of Time, just because I felt getting all the heart pieces was a little redundant. I've gotten close to getting all of them. I think I missed like one. But all the golden Skulltulas I've never bothered with. Maybe I'll try to do that this run. It'll just take some time. Probably a walkthrough too. Yeah. And then after you've gotten through all the temples, finally going to confront Ganon, and that whole castle area being like the shorter puzzles that you had to do, that pretty much were kind of like or a final review of the Forest Temple and the Fire Temple and the whatever, getting through all that shit. And then and still, after taking down the barrier, also getting the gold gauntlets, and then getting your fucking damage you take reduced by half is huge. Super handy to have when you're fighting Ganon. And then you got to get up the whole fucking spiral staircase thing, and fighting all these tough enemies as you go. That was just like, holy fuck, so epic, so challenging, so fun. Like one of the best parts in the game. And then finally getting to Ganon. And damn, that whole fight in itself like took a long time. You got platforms breaking down under your feet. You got fucking Ganondorf fucking shooting lightning at you and shit. He's got moves that you gotta dodge, some moves that you gotta attack him with. Um, and yeah, just that whole fight. And then you beat that, and you're like, okay, I gotta escape the castle, and you kind of think things are done, but no, you would be mistaken, because then Ganondorf turns into a fucking beast, and then you gotta fight that guy, and that guy is not easy, especially when you're a kid. Also, just being intimidated by enemies as a kid, that happened to me. Like fighting Ganon, I was like, dude, I don't know if I could fucking beat this guy. And you gotta hit him in the tail, and you gotta fucking do that, and hit him a bunch of times, and knocks the Master Sword out of your hand. So you gotta have like the hammer or the big Goron sword. Um, Getting through that, and the music is just so fucking just like, it's just like, this is it, this is the final battle, like just like that shit going on, and yeah, and then you finally kill him, and that whole fucking chunk and story of that game is just iconic, memorable. Um, from every last detail and how much heart they put into that game, the locations, again, the music, the little things in it, the fun things, the humor, the dark parts, all of it. Fucking 10 out of 10, masterpiece. And yeah, with that being said, it was a slice, and I'm enjoying playing it right now. Still find myself getting to moments where I'm like, fuck, like just little things that make the game frustratingly fun. And yeah, so Ocarina of Time, one of the best games that I've ever played, and that I will continue to play. And I certainly hope that they do, like with the Nintendo Switch, release like a remade version of that game, or do what they did like with A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds, and kind of expand on Ocarina of Time again, or maybe do something after Majora's Mask, reintroduce Majora's Mask. Like, fuck, you know how cool that would be? It'd be cool to see that, I think, or have the two combine or something like that. But even nonetheless, just having Ocarina of Time, like, I liked what they did in the 3D version. Some people don't like that game, especially I would assume like speedrunners probably don't like the 3D version opposed to the like original version. But fuck that, the graphics and everything just looks so much more polished and beautiful, and just a fun game to play. So I'd love to see that on the Switch rather than like the N64 version. But whatever. I know actually that the N64 games are out on Switch, and I think they have like some sort of polish to them. But even still, I've heard some bad reviews on Ocarina of Time. Apparently, it just doesn't play that well, or there's like some lag or something like that, which are probably like picky little details, unless it's like extreme and super buggy like Cyberpunk or some shit. But yeah, either way, I guess we'll see what Zelda, or the Nintendo rather, has planned. So looking forward to playing Breath of the Wild too. Like the second one. I had almost nearly completed the first Breath of the Wild, and debating on maybe taking time off when Breath of the Wild 2 releases, like booking like a week off or something when I have like paid vacation, and just playing the fuck out of that, because that's what I did. Well, I wasn't working at the time when the first Breath of the Wild came out, but so I was able to beat that game, like the story, in 3 days, and that was me playing it nonstop because it was just so fun, and just all like the puzzles, and yeah, a totally different take on the game, and just overall like, oh, love that game. Yeah, so I'm curious to see what they did with Breath of the Wild 2, and where Zelda's gonna go in the next. Fuck, what'll Zelda look like in 10 years, right? It's very interesting to see, because technology too is just fucking flying, right? Eventually, we won't even be holding cell phones anymore. They'll just be like a hologram that can pop out of our wrist. So, yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Pretty crazy stuff. Let's see here. As per the usual, I always like to keep some notes handy. I have no idea what is going on with me, because I had a good sleep. But I must have yawned like fucking 6 or 7 times, so I must be pretty boring to myself. Yeah, so what else is on the fucking agenda? Well, I don't know. The new Spider-Man movie looks pretty fucking dope. I'm curious to see. People keep thinking that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in the movie, but I don't know if they're gonna be. I'm not. I mean, I think there's a good chance they'll be in the movie. I think it would be very cool if they were in the movie because they're gonna have all these. Dude, they have the villains of the other universes. So why would you do that but not have the other Spider-Mans? I've read some comments, people saying how the other Spider-Mans will be in the movie, but they just won't take their masks off, which would, I mean, like, okay, like, fair, I guess. But I think you should, if you're going to go that route, you should have, like, the actors in there, right? You're going to have the actual actors of the villains. Dr. Octopus, like, he's the OG version, right? So why wouldn't you? Like, you can't fucking tell me Disney and Marvel don't have the fucking money to pull that shit off, or the manpower, or fucking right people in charge to write that story. So get the fuck out of here. They gotta have it. I mean, like, I would think, right? If you're gonna do that, you might as well go. You might as well just go for it. Go full Spider-Man. Yeah. So I will most likely see that, but I will most likely see that not in theaters. I will just see it when I can see it on, like, fucking Amazon Prime or some shit. I haven't even seen Venom 2 yet, but I'm looking forward to that because Carnage, he's in there. And Woody Harrelson, he plays Carnage. And that's pretty fucking cool. It looks dope. I hope it's as epic as I've heard it is, and hopefully blows Venom 1 out of the water. And then eventually, like, when are they gonna throw in Venom and Spider-Man together, make them fight and stuff? That's what I want to see. Like a good Venom and Spider-Man fight, or Spider-Man and Carnage. I want to see Carnage fuck up Spider-Man's life, and, like, or I want to see, like, dark suit Spider-Man. I want to see this Spider-Man we've got, Tom Holland. I want to see him as a badass. I feel like he would be very good at that and do, like, a really good contrast of the way he plays Peter Parker now. They'll probably do it when he's older. I could see that. I think he's like such a I think he's like the Spider-Man. Like, for me, I don't know. Like, Tobey Maguire, I like those movies. They're kind of fucking cheesy. Like, we knew that as kids, but there was, like, when that movie, when the Tobey Maguire movies came out, I was like, that was a big fucking deal. I know it was. I appreciate those movies. I love those movies. But you can't tell me there's not some, like, cheesiness to it, or, like, some cringy moments that are now fucking memes at this point. And, like, the third one, was that really that great? I mean, look what they did to Venom. Look what they did with that. Look how long every boss fucking, like, or not boss, not Zelda, like, villain, like, lasted, like, the movie, and then they dead. And I always thought as a kid, I was like, why don't you let the fucking enemies, like, not die? Because they don't you want them to come back like they do in the show? Like, did all these villains really gotta die? I don't remember if Harry Osborn died. Did he? I don't remember. Venom, he got offed. Sandman, like, whatever. I don't remember all the fucking movies, but I know Dr. Octopus was supposed to have been dead, right? In the second one. I think the second one out of all of them was probably my favorite. I can tell you who fucking definitely dies in Spider-Man, though. Uncle Ben! Uncle Ben! Yeah, he died. But I missed the part where that's my problem. Spider-Man, Spider-Man. You'll get your rent when you fix the door. He is mad at the landlord. He's a badass with a black suit. Look out. Spider-Man 3 was lame and funny. Yeah. You like that shit? Oh my god. Creative genius on what I think is a Wednesday. Yes, it is at 1:31. So let me tell you. Shit. And you really, I want my listeners to keep up with me on this, because I'm going to be saying some shit, And I mean, that's what I do on this escapade of knowledge that I provide audiomorphically. Yeah. If that's not a word, it is now because I said it. Audiomorphic. Audiomorphic. Sounds like a fucking like a company. Thank you for purchasing Audiomorphic. For service in English, press 1. Parlez-vous français, or whatever the fuck the French one is. Doop-a-doo-doo-doo. That's not how French people sound. But yeah, I had some thoughts. I get thinkings. I get thinks. You ever had a think? I've had a think. I've had some thinks. And I had a thought. So now you can like borrow things like, hey, yo, Steve. Hey, Steve, can I borrow your rake? Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Steve. Yeah. And that's fine, right? The golden rule is return borrowed item in the same condition or better than how you got it. And I learned that from what used to be a family friend, I guess. We don't see him anymore. But nothing happened to him. He's just kind of a dink. But anyways, so I've written down here, borrowing a roll of toilet paper. So you got to think about that, right? Like, yeah, you can use it, but I want it back. Like you would assume like, okay, like, yo, man, hey, dog, yo, can I borrow a roll of toilet paper? And I said, yeah, but I want it back when you're done. Like, you would assume that if you're borrowing a roll of toilet paper, where you're gonna use it, right? And what if you use the whole thing? So does that insinuate like I'm gonna want the toilet paper returned to me after it's used? Like, yeah, yo, man, you can borrow that toilet paper, but I want it back when you're done with it. Like, literally, like what I'm saying, right, is like, you're wiping your ass and then you return it, like. But would that be like damaged property then? Like, what is borrowing a roll of toilet paper? Or like, can I borrow a cup of sugar? Yeah, sure, but it's not ensuring that you're gonna get it back. How does one borrow a roll of toilet paper unless you're gonna like use it for some of the toilet paper and then return the roll with less on it? So that's not returning it how you borrowed it, or if not in better condition, you have returned it in less condition. So I think the correct term here is, or the correct wording, can I borrow some toilet paper? There we go. Now that makes more sense. Don't even, you know what? Say this. Hey, I need you. Can I please have some toilet paper? There you go. That sounds better. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if anybody ever comes up to me and is like, hey, can I borrow? Like, you wouldn't borrow a piece of cake, right? Can I borrow a piece of cake? I'll give it back when I'm done. That's not how that works. Can I borrow that drill? Sure. Just make sure I get it back in the same condition. Treat my shit with respect, please, because I paid for it. And you didn't, and shit's not cheap out there. I'll tell you what, though, about toilet paper. Yo, you can have some toilet paper. You can't borrow the roll because I'm not going to get it back. And apparently, due to 2021 being just existing, toilet paper has got to be the hottest commodity out there. Like, toilet paper's like, I feel like the first thing to fucking go. And then now it's milk and butter and bread or some shit. You like that sniffing? I don't give a fuck. I'm doing blow as far as you know. But yeah, everybody loses their fucking minds. Toilet paper, gone. It's survival of the fittest. Fuck you. Yeah? Nah. I get it. If you've come up where you've had it tougher than other people, Okay, whatever, right? Like, I get it. Struggle and survival and all that shit. And I can't speak too much to that because it wasn't necessarily crazy difficult. It wasn't like there wasn't food in the house, but you don't just brush it off like my life was all fucking sunshine and rainbows. Nobody's is, I think, right? It's like in the Outsiders. It's hard all over the place, or whatever the fuck Cheryl says, or whatever the fuck that character says. You know, it's hard all over. Um, and that's true, right? Sure, some people's problems are like, I mean, like sure, shit could be a lot fucking worse, right? Like, there's some things you should be able to let go. But you know, you can't write everybody off like y'all never fucking struggled. Fuck off. No, it's not about that. And I think we should be a little more like evolved as fucking humans in society to like look out for one another and try to help, which has seemed to have been more productive in the world. Take for example Abbotsford, right? And them flooding out. Well, not Abbotsford, but more Sumas, right? So if everybody had the mentality of survival of the fittest, and then all these farmers and like the pump station and all this shit just fucking goes to shit, well, that could have been prevented if the mentality, and did get prevented, I might add, because people's mentalities weren't survival of the fittest. It was like, hey, let's work together as a team and come together and look out for our fellow man and try to prevent something catastrophic from occurring. So, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, buy all the toilet paper and stuff it down your throat. Eat the toilet paper. Eat all the toilet paper. Buy all of it. Eat all of it. Shove some of it in your ass so you don't even have to wipe. The toilet paper will just soak up your shit. Because that's what you seem to be spewing on a regular basis. Use it as like a fucking makeshift poop tampon or something like that. You know? And just do that. And then drink a gallon of milk. And I hope you're lactose intolerant. Yeah, that's what I have to say about that. And this all started from borrowing toilet paper. People ain't borrowing toilet paper. People be buying it, putting it in a box and saving it. Can't fucking eat toilet paper. Yeah. So, how about that? Anyways, let me ask you something. What's the difference between rocks and napkins? Well, I don't use napkins to wipe my ass after I take a shit. And let me tell you, I've never had a threesome. I feel like there's a lot going on. Threesomes intimidate me. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot of moving parts. I mean, shit. I don't think I've satisfied one woman, let alone two at the same time. And, like, don't get me wrong. I've seen porn. And it's like two girls. It's like, yeah, a lot of men would be like, yeah. How do I get a slice of that cake? But man, that's like a time investment. There's just a lot. There's a lot. And I feel like someone's coming out of that not happy and not satisfied. You might get one of them. I don't know. Like, do y'all got to be doing drugs? I feel like drugs are involved, right? If for a successful threesome, like, unless you're really confident in your sexual abilities, like, I feel like a threesome, like, it's just a fucking blueprint for disaster, right? It's so great. Nah, man, I mean, sure. I get, like, I feel like if you didn't have to earn it, like, let's put it this way. If you're, like, somebody famous and, like, two girls just want to sleep with you, right? It's like, okay, right? You didn't have to sign up for anything. Like, you just showed up, right? What's that saying? If you build it, they will come. Ha! Genius. Yeah, I know. Right? But if you've had to, like, work for it, if you're like a dude who's at the bar, pickup artist, whatever the fuck you are, and you're like, as they say, trying to bag two hoes, right? Like, sure, I'm sure alcohol is somewhere in there, and depending on what kind of person you are, a dirt bag or something or not, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. how did threesomes happen? And then two, it's like, well, the other alternative is like if you're in a relationship or an open relationship, and like maybe that you both have agreed, like, hey, I want to have another person involved on this. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't know if I'll ever be a part of one. I don't know if I want to be a part of one. You know what I do want to be a part of? Hey, let's just hang out at home. Let's watch a movie. Oh, I bought a pizza. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Pizza time. We're good. Hey, guess what we're gonna watch tonight, baby? Spider-Man. Shit, you like that? Yo, we ain't Netflix and chilling anymore because, just like the pizza, I came in 15 minutes. Pizzas don't even arrive in 15 minutes. That's like how long it takes to bake. But I don't think I last half an hour. I don't think I've ever done that. Anyways, not oversharing. Whatever. We're all fucking human. You don't like it? Go find a door. Go find a door. Walk through it. Go find a door. Walk through it. Lock the door behind you. Don't come back to that door. Lose the key. Lose the key outside tonight. And then take a hike. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like having a threesome is like playing the trumpet while also playing a game of soccer, right? If you think about it. You just got to think about it really hard and it makes sense. That's what she said. Yo, let me tell you, I wish someone could just see what I did right now. This just happened while I was talking. So I was opening my phone and swiping up to unlock my phone. Yeah. And then I looked to my right where my notepad is. And instead of looking down at what I've written, I tried running my finger up onto the paper as if it was going to scroll the words up for me. I'm gonna get real close. I've never done that before in my life. And I just fucking did. I don't know how I feel about that. What's the opposite of a trumpet? If I had to guess, I'd probably say crickets, maybe. And if you're really dying to hear crickets, then just head on over to my Tinder app. And plenty of fish. I gotta wonder what's really going on. Just that name alone sounds off-putting. Like plenty of fish. What are we doing? Catching sturgeon? What, we're gonna go out and go fishing? Plenty of Fish sounds like a dating site for fishermen, right? For people who like to fish, fishermen, fisherwomen, Fisher Price, whatever. But yeah, fishing. Plenty of fish. Plenty of fish in the sea, I get it, but it also makes it sound like, yo, plenty of fish, like yuck. Like bad, you know? Not like good fish, but like something's fishy. Yeah. You feel me? So I don't know what's going on there. I don't even really fish that much. I like fishing. But I ain't about to fish on Plenty of Fish, which I've done it. Nah, it's dumb. And another one too, like fucking Bumble. Like what do I look like? A fucking beekeeper? Bumble. Yo, single honeys in my area. And I gotta bring some sweet talking if I really want to get them buzzing. Either that or feel the sting of rejection. I'm just trying to stay fly. You know? You like that? This is what I mean, people. You gotta keep up. You gotta keep up. You're gonna have to rewind the track on that one. Shit. I bought a briefcase the other day. Finally. A place where I can keep my underwear. On a side note, I was telling jokes at work the other day. And I told a joke. I was like, yo, if you fight with your armpits, does that make them harm pits? And if your armpits are clean and smell nice, does that make them charm pits? And one of the servers, the expo girl, she was like, are you single? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, yeah, I can tell. And I was like, oh, uh, yeah. She's like, yeah, telling jokes like that. Just stop. I'm not gonna stop. But she got me pretty good. I deserved that. That was fair. It was stern but fair. So, hey, blenders are pretty cool, but to an extent because they kind of scare the shit out of me. I feel like one day I'm just going to reach in there and fuck my hand up, and it'll either be from stupidity or a freak accident. And what freaks me out about fucking blenders or anything like that, any piece of equipment that could fuck you up in some way or another. I don't know what it is. Maybe I watched too much Final Destination. Freak accidents scare the fuck out of me. They just freak me the fuck out. Irrational fears and such. But yeah, one day I'm going to be like, have the blender, like I unplug shit, right? I'm going to have the blender unplugged. And for some fucking reason, I still feel like me like reaching in there or like trying to do a thing. It could be a thing where I'm like, oh, I'm trying to fix it, or I'm like, gotta take it apart and I can't figure it out. And I put my hand in there. It's just going to start. And I'm gonna and just the thought of, oh, what would my fingers look like in there? And fuck that. Like, just fuck that. That's some fucking bullshit, man. I don't even want to think about that. But it freaks the shit out of me. And let me tell you something else. I'm pretty sure, yeah, angle grinder, right? Is the thing with the disc? Yeah? God, I sound fucking stupid right now. All my construction people, yeah, it's the fucking guy, the thing with the disc. Yeah, okay, thanks, dick. No. The point I was getting at here is I unplug shit, and I always unplugged the angle grinder before changing the fucking disc out. I don't fuck around, okay? Especially after what I had done. So once upon a time, I was using an angle grinder, and it did not have a guard on it. Okay, whatever. In construction, you do some sketchy shit, but as long as you're fucking observant and careful, like, you can avoid getting hurt from sketchy shit, right? Well, once upon it, and okay, sorry, but I had to cut, I believe it was rebar. Yeah, I'm like fucking 80% sure it was rebar. And what I had noticed is the disc was kind of looking funny. I had shut it off for a second because I was checking to see how much farther I had left, or I was checking the disc. I can't remember what it was, but I was looking at it, and the disc, the piece that holds the disc in, it looked like it was kind of compressing into the disc a bit, or the cutting wheel, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And I was like, okay, I just had this gut feeling. I was like, I'm going to throw on some safety glasses, because I'd only had my regular glasses on. I didn't have contacts. So I'd thrown on my safety glasses just to be safe. And I started cutting the rebar again, and sure enough, the fucking disc exploded, and smoked me in the forehead. Now, my first fucking thought was like, that disc is stuck in my fucking forehead, because it felt like someone had whipped a rock as hard as they could at my head. That's what it felt like. It didn't feel like a cutting pain. It felt like a fuck. That hurt. Yeah, it felt like someone smoked me with a baseball bat or something. So the first reaction I have is putting my hand and feeling if there was a disc lodged inside of my skull. Luckily, there wasn't. My second thing was, okay, I'm probably fucking bleeding. So I'm yelling at my boss, whatever. The cut actually wasn't even that bad. I don't even think I have a scar. It like skimmed my fucking hairline. So I got lucky, like very lucky, because I'm pretty sure I also had the grinder. I can't remember which way I had the disc facing, but it very well could have like exploded and went into my arm or something, right? This is also like, I hadn't had too much experience with angle grinders or anything like that. So whatever, like the training, I don't know. Like, I feel like if you're giving someone a fucking tool like that, like sometimes it's like, yeah, common sense, right? Like a Sawzall or something, like maybe don't put your hand on the blade and pull the trigger, right? Like there's shit like that, but then there's like, hey, here's a thing that like, okay, we don't have the guard on it. And also too, and you'll hear that in construction sites too. Well, don't be a pussy, like whatever. And like, you can get if you don't have the guard on it, you can make cuts, right? Like if you couldn't make it with the guard on, again, just be fucking careful. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like there's always that like, oh, just don't be a puss, just fucking do it. Like whatever, it's not a big deal. But like, yo, man, I don't know. Like I also like want to go on through my life like with my body not fucked to shit, you know? So anyways, whatever. I mean, I didn't have like too much experience with it, but the long story short is I was much careful after that. So anytime I was changing anything or doing anything with a piece of equipment that was like, yeah, I could probably fuck myself up royally with this thing. Let's make sure it's unplugged and completely powered down in every and any way possible. Because safety is fucking first, and I'm gonna tell you, the wage is not worth the fucking injuries you could receive. So yeah, that's all I've got in my notes for the day. We're looking at 55 minutes. It's Wednesday, 1:51 p.m. Yeah, and I think that pretty much covers today's podcast. So yeah, I'll probably spend the rest of my day doing some laundry and trying to beat the rest of Ocarina of Time. I've already got the big Goron sword. I just got the 2 temples left. Yeah, maybe pop by my folks' place, have some din, some shit like that. I don't know. But yeah, so with that being said, like I think I usually do in every episode, thank you very much for listening. I hope it's been educational. Hope you got a laugh out of it. More on the way. I've been feeling pretty good about the saying stuff for 5 minutes. Still haven't figured out what I'm gonna do for TikTok, because that seems to be the thing that's popping off. Yeah, so I gotta... I just don't want to, like... I was, like, trying to think, like, okay, do I, like, post my clips, and, like, that's a whole ordeal trying to get the file up there, and... Or do I try to do some, like, random shit? Like, not Randy. Do you feel Randy? Yeah, so I don't know. I honestly don't really know. I'm just kind of throwing shit out there and seeing what sticks, and I feel like that's what's key, right? But yeah, so be sure to subscribe if you want to hear more. Again, eventually I will get this shit on Spotify. I'm just like, I just do it as I do it, and you can take it as it comes. So, yeah. Anyways, have yourself a fantastic day. I'm going to go enjoy my day, and I will see you next time where we will continue to say things in the morning. This has been your host, Ryan Bisset, and I still don't know how to end an episode. Okay, bye.